Hello and good morning from the TT circuit Assen here in the Netherlands. We are almost prepared for the second race of the EUROCUP-3 race weekend here, and we are of course looking at how the last race before our own is wrapping up all the activities and how soon our own drivers and teams will be going on the track to attack the grid and get prepared for the race 2 of the weekend. But, of course, as we often do in this 2025 season, why don't we take a little bit of a moment to watch a little bit of a teaser of our off-track, our latest episode, where we see a little bit of what happens behind the scenes. In this case, a conversation that we had in Monza with two ladies who are very much in charge of running both the championship and the teams, and seeing how things operate from their side. Operational challenges are aplenty in the world of motorsports, and we always need the right people to run them and make sure that nothing gets in the way of our fun. So, look forward to that small teaser, and of course, if you like, go and watch it on YouTube when it's up. Marta, how do we make sure that the championship in general runs its operations smoothly?
So the first thing we do is weeks or months before the championship starts, we coordinate a calendar. We need to speak with all the circuits, all the series that are going to come with us to support us. And we make that calendar, and after that, little by little, we start making the schedules, we start making the paddock plan, box allocation. We also have a lot of meetings with each of the circuits to make the plan go good. So it's a job that comes from months ago.
So I think, Jen, for you, it's similar in the sense that there's a lot of work that gets put into the whole operation, also weeks and months before the actual event comes. But it's also quite different because running a team or making a team operate properly is different from a championship. How does that compare?
Oh, I need to wait for her schedule first, and then my job starts. But basically, it's similar. Like once I have some schedule of the year, I would start basically blocking out all bookings, for example, at hotels and things. And then once, more or less, any info we get from the championship is then when I start doing, I guess, a very similar job in all the logistics and stuff for the team.
And Marta, for you, you're dealing with a lot of people, and that means a lot of teams and a lot of circuits and generally a lot of personnel involved in the whole operation. How do you make sure that every person's needs go met?
So the key for this is the communication. That is why it's so important to have meetings before each event. And I also prepare an info note with all the logistics, all the planning for the event, and I send it to the circuits, to my teams, and also if we have support series, I also send them to them so we can have a good event, and it's all planned.
And for you, Jen, you're dealing with drivers and sponsors and people who are around their personnel, their physical trainers, and of course everyone who's involved with the team. Is that in any way similar to running the championship as an event manager, as Marta does, or is that different enough?
I don't know. It's kind of some. I don't know how to put it. It's kind of similar, kind of different. But I guess you definitely deal with lots of different personalities. I don't know whether it's like slightly different. Like we're got a closer relationship maybe when you're like within a team versus I guess like you're more like business to business, whereas I'm like, and so like I guess you get to learn a lot more, and I guess I spend like a lot more. I spend the whole year with like the same group, whereas yours like changes every
mine
event.
Is with different people.
Yeah, and so like for me, I guess I learn how the personalities of each say different, like kind of parent or driver or something, and then obviously the crew I've been working with years, and you kind of for me it's a bit easier because I built a longer relationship.
Yeah, for me it's different because we always know new people at different tracks, so it's easy for the part of the teams because they are always the same people, but not in the tracks.
Does that make things a bit more difficult? Because I'm just thinking now, Jen, being able to know how each person clicks, and that must help a lot. So I don't know how that's how that feels to both of you, because it's definitely very different, but I think a big advantage for you, Jen, in this case.
Yeah, definitely, because then I kind of, I've got like a report already with, and I know how or more or less how it should go or work. But I guess,
yes,
with the circuit, you deal with constantly
it's like a new
different
adventure. Because you need to plan everything about passes, entries, security, new race directors, new schedule. So it's like a new adventure with the circuit.
As if one race wasn't enough, it is race day 2 here at the TT Circuit of Assen for round 5 of the EUROCUP-3 Championship. And what a day we had yesterday. We were blessed with some beautiful racing, clear skies, and great action once again. And we're here straight back on the Sunday to repeat all of that again. Yesterday's race winner on track, it was Matteo Carnaghi, but because of a penalty for jump start at the start of the race, he got a 10-second penalty, which demoted him down to 3rd in the order, which does mean that it was Valerio Renicella who walked away with the win on the top step of the podium. Not the way that he would have wanted to take his first win in the EuroCup-3 campaign, but a win nevertheless, and still a good weekend for the MP Motorsport team. Cars are now making their way out onto the circuit. We had qualifying earlier on today, and it's Matteo Carnaghi. He's done the double. He's got himself 2 pole positions, and Alex is down on the track, and he's the person who is down on the track for us. Actually watched that qualifying session trackside. Alex, anything that jumped out to you from that?
Hello, Kai, and hi everyone from here on the grid. We are getting ready for the second race of the weekend, and yes, there is one thing that jumped out to me and to us pretty much, which is that red flag at the end of the session. If it had happened just 20-25 seconds earlier, we would have had a different pole sitter. And well, that doesn't mean that Matteo Carnaghi doesn't deserve the pole position that he got. He was clearly the quickest guy on track. But I cannot deny that after the weekend we've seen, imagine if we had Michael Belov with the LA Racing machine on pole position. That could have happened. And if I say that could have happened, it's because he is, of course, starting from P2, which is just one place better than yesterday, and he continues to have a fantastic weekend. We talked about yesterday, Kai, I remember I said some drivers and some teams may find something else ahead of tomorrow during the qualifying 2 session, which is, of course, the quickest session of the weekend. And, well, I wasn't expecting that LA Racing was just going to find that little bit of extra speed to challenge MP Motorsport on their own home turf. So that jumps out to me. We have a similar story to yesterday. Campos is still struggling, MP is still ahead. But, of course, we have LA Racing, surprisingly, with the experienced Belov being the surprising force to challenge for the win. We'll see. Starting from first row is always a little bit more of an option to aim for the win than starting from 3rd place like yesterday. So that's one thing to look out for.
Yeah, Michael Belov, obviously a driver which we've heard his name multiple times in the past, a very experienced and worthy driver as well to contend for that pole position. But Alex, Matteo Carnaghi, I think just in a league of his own, nearly half a second is what separated him and Michael Belov in qualifying. We saw Carnaghi just walk away with the victory yesterday. Do you think it's going to be a repeat of that?
It certainly could be. We know that he's quick, very quick, especially here in Assen. He has been miles ahead of everyone else. But, you know, there's a race start. You need to nail that race start. He did not nail the race start yesterday, specifically that grid position, which was the cause of the penalty. I'm not going to say that he will be nervous about that, but he will certainly be maybe a little bit more careful. He has to make sure that everything goes according to the usual procedures, and that may give a chance to Michael Belov, the driver who I have behind me, to try and make that upset. But one thing that I do want to say is that Mattia Colnaghi did exactly what we would have expected him to do, which is quickly recovered from that disappointment yesterday, losing that win, and come back stronger. That is what a good racing driver does. He's certainly done it. And he is, of course, the prime candidate to taking that win today, which would be, just as it was yesterday before the penalty, 4th win of the year, if he takes it. Implications of that penalty from yesterday. Well, he is not the championship leader before this race, although we could argue that those pole position points exist, which would make him a championship leader, of course. But it is something to consider after the race yesterday. It is Valerio Rinicella who is on the top of the standings. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well, because yes, we are always thinking of one race, you know, on Saturday, another race on Sunday. There will be weekends where we will have 3 races, and I know that you're happy about that as well, Kai. But we're thinking of a championship. At the end of the day, we all want to get to Barcelona with more points than everybody else, especially, and I know I'm jumping a few hoops ahead of time, considering that Barcelona is on the same race weekend as the Macau Grand Prix, which is running with the Formula Regional machines. And some drivers, we know they're interested in running that. So they all need as many points as they can get before that, because that is going to matter.
No, exactly. The more racing, the better, as you mentioned, Alex. But one crucial difference between today and yesterday, Alex, is the teams now have full race data. Obviously, yesterday was the first time that we saw these EuroCup-3 machines make their way around the TT circuit Assen, and now we do have 30 minutes full race data, which the teams will have available to make any adjustments for today's racing. So, do you think that's going to spice the order up a little bit?
In theory, it shouldn't. But as you know, data is data, and as long as you have data, you need to analyze it and you need to make changes based on that. So there's always a chance that one of the teams or one of the drivers or maybe one of the engineers specifically can manage to find something else that nobody else does. So this is something that we'll have to be finding out over the next half an hour. Good thing, the temperatures are very, very similar to yesterday. Another good thing, the racing starting time is very similar to yesterday. So, of course, that data is extremely valuable. And I say this because it is not often that we actually have race starting times that are actually similar. Most of the time we have a race in the afternoon on Saturday, and oftentimes race on Sunday is a little bit earlier. So that is something to consider. The data is really, really, really faithful to what we'll be seeing today. So anything that a team does, considering those informations that they got yesterday, it will probably matter. I've been watching the tires. Some of them are using used tires. That's important. In particular, Michael Belov is using tires that had some signs of wear. It means that tire has been used more than just 1 or 2 installation laps. That's something to keep in mind as well, because 30 minutes is a long time, and if someone has new tires, that's always going to give you a little bit of an edge. So let's look out for that. I couldn't catch quite what Mattia Colnaghi was using, but I would imagine that his tire state would be pretty similar. Although, when I say Michael Belov has used tires, I don't mean it in a conventional meaning. It's probably just the tire that has had the scrubbing done, maybe 2 or 3 laps during qualifying, just to get that first layer off.
Yeah, very smart decision there to actually go into this race scrub tyres. Not a bad idea for these drivers. Alex, thank you very much for your time, and we will catch up with you after this race. But a race indeed that we now do have on our hands. All of the mechanics and all team personnel have now cleared the grid. Well, apart from one, which is still having a look at one of the cars a little bit further back. That might be Luciano Moreno, one of the mechanics on that car. Will now make a few final adjustments and I'm sure will very quickly get chased off the grid there. And now all team personnel have cleared the grid. There is the number 24 driver of Ernesto Rivera, who was our championship leader coming into this round. A tough qualifying and tough race yesterday. It looked like at the end of the race he got himself eking into the top 10 positions, which means he would have scored Grand Prix points. But unfortunately, in the last lap, a few mishaps meant that he finished down in 13th position, and no points were taken home for Ernesto Rivera. Another very tough qualifying session for Rivera. Finds himself on the 6th row of the grid in 12th position, which is not where he wants to find himself at all, especially when exactly what he needs to do today is recover as many points as possible to the loss that he had yesterday. Cars are now circulating their way around the circuit, and as Alex mentioned, a few drivers on that used compounder tyres, which means that they've already got that first silicon layer of rubber now scrubbed off, and means that they're already within racing action and ready to function at full capability as well. The rest of the drivers will have a little bit of work to do here on this formation lap. You'll see them weaving side to side. That's to try and get tyre surface and carcass temperature as well. Obviously, the hotter tyres are, the more they are within their operational window for racing conditions. And as soon as that silicon slippy layer is now rubbed off the surface of the tyre, that's when the grip really starts to build up for the drivers. And that's what they need, especially for a good launch off the line, which was very important yesterday. A couple of drivers falling a little bit short there. We saw Rinicella not have the best start off the line that he would have been hoping for from the front row yesterday for an MP lockout with his teammate Carnaghi. Carnaghi, as we mentioned, had that issue where he wasn't within his grid blocks, so was awarded a 10-second time penalty. Still a good enough performance, though, to award him a 3rd position result and still 15 points to total to his championship standings. But Rinicella, a little bit short off the line, meant that Mikhail Belov was able to apply a bit of pressure and challenge on the first couple of laps of the race yesterday. Nothing really to worry about too much for Rinicella, as he was able to use his push-to-pass button to use a little bit extra energy, get the extra 25 horsepower, and pull away from the Ally Racing machine on the back of the orange MP livery. We are now making our way through the final section of the circuit, and will very shortly be underway with racing as well. Through the final couple of corners we go. It's Matteo Carnaghi who will take us to the front position of the grid. Another pole position. Pole yesterday, pole today by 0.5 of a second. How often do you see that in motor racing? Matteo Carnaghi in a world of his own out in qualifying today. Yes, a red flag cut it a little bit short with an issue there for the driver starting on the last row of the grid. Zach Scolaire was the driver that brought out the red flag in qualifying earlier on. He will still take the grid for racing action, but Matteo Carnaghi taken the best advantage of the time that was handed to him today. So let's see if he can use that in the race as well. Hopefully no issues off the line for him this time. But once again, it's a rookie on pole position, a veteran alongside him. Mikhail Belov will try and challenge off the line. The question is, will he be able to do it down in turn 1? Probably one of your best opportunity. And the fans are now out in fashion watching for this race. We'll see what happens here off the line and see as the lights now build up. Carnaghi from pole position, Belov alongside him, and we are racing. The MP machine is getting away lightly, and one driver stalling in the background. Who's that? That's had issues. That's one of the Red Bull Junior drivers. That looks like it might be Enzo Tarvanichko, who hasn't gotten away off the line as we're 3 wide through turn 1. Couple of drivers having a kick off as dust is now flung everywhere off the runoff of turn 1 and 2 as drivers are going side by side in the background. Another one of the Red Bull Racing machines is now getting involved in the action. James Agazzi and Macedo were going side by side. Macedo starting in 7th position, awarded a 5-place grid penalty for an issue in qualifying. He qualified 2nd, but starts all the way down in 7th. And the MP Motorsport machines, what a start for them as they go 1, 2, and 3 Mikhail Belov, he tumbles down the order from issues on the first lap. Would be great to see if we could get a replay of that as he tumbles down to 26th position in the order, and everyone in the Alley Racing Garage is thrown into a frenzy as it goes from a dream weekend and second on the grid to now down in 26th in the running order. Mikhail Belov, what he would have been hoping for? Not at all, as he finds himself down the back end of the field. It looks like the garage in disarray, and you can't blame them at all. Mikhail Belov, he was looking so strong all weekend, especially yesterday and in this morning's qualifying session, but dropped down into 26th position now, as we were just looking at Ernesto Rivera, our championship leader, coming into the weekend. He's down into 14th position, with Lenny Reed applying pressure onto the rear end of that machine. In the background, we see an overtake, dive down the inside. That was a beautiful move there that we saw from what looked like Lorenzo Castillo, who will make the move on Isaac Barashi. So Castillo in front of Barashi, one driver pulling into the pit lane. Is that Mikhail Belov? It's one of the Alley Racing machines we can't see because of the plinth in front of us, but yes, it is Belov into the pit lane. He got away from the line. It was a little bit of a slow start. We saw Tarvanichko not get away in the background, and it just looks like a mechanical issue for Mikhail Belov. That was the problem that he had. He got away from the line all right, and then just slowly doesn't seem to get the car out of that second gear and out of that second phase. And Mikhail Belov, he's just there, a passenger in the car, watching the rest of the grid fly past him on the left-hand side. A nightmare start for Mikhail Belov, but all of that means, in the background, a couple of drivers getting a little bit feisty, and one getting forced off the road in the form of Famularo and Diriani. There is the number 41, Mikhail Belov. You can't not help but have heartache for the man who came into this weekend with such high hopes for his first race weekend with EuroCup Formula 3 this season. It was all looking to be roses and daisies for Mikhail Belov, but that's not what it all seems as we go side by side in the mid-pack. A couple of drivers now having to hack it out for position on track down the inside. Beautiful move there from what looks like to be the number 5 car of Luca Moreno as he made the move down the inside. You love to see that from what was, the number 7 of Maciej Gladish making the move on Carrasquedo. So Carrasquedo losing out on a position there. Gladish able to promote himself up into 5th position. But out in front, they were searching to do it yesterday. They weren't able to execute it fully. But an MP, 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is a KCL MP in 2nd position in the form of Abgazava. The MP sister team in 2nd position, splitting the MP drivers of Kolnagi and Rinicella. Kasper Stuka in 4th position right now, the number 37. And that is a retirement for Mikhail Belov. It wasn't looking hopeful, but this is confirmation. Mikhail Belov will be wound back into the pits and into his box, and that is the end of his racing weekend. It was 2nd on the grid, but 1st to retire. Mikhail Belov, such a shame to see him go so early, and I'm sure it will be distress aplenty for the driver who was hoping to take home a race victory today, and he was looking quite set to do so. Unfortunately, the Alley Racing team will now be 1 car short for this race, which means that we are now demoted down to 28 drivers competing in this grid. As we're just watching the drivers go past, and that was the Griffin Core car of Carrasquedo making his way around the circuit, still close in behind Gladish in front. Maciej Gladish just trying to fend off Carrasquedo in behind. As we can see, the number 27 here, Carrasquedo, just looking in behind. James Aguzzi not far behind. Jules Caranta, the Red Bull Junior driver, trying to latch onto this chain as well. Carrasquedo just trying to gain back as much time as he can on Gladish in front. Gladish, we saw a couple of laps ago, make that overtake for the 5th position on track. The rookie driver making his way past the veteran. But out in front, that gap is starting to close down a little bit now between Rinicella and Stuka. Stuka with the fastest Sector 1 and Sector 3 on that last lap. Not the fastest lap, that went the way of Abgazava, as he's now trying to hunt down the back of Matteo Colnaghi. Colnaghi trying to rectify what happened yesterday and do what he feels was unjust. 3rd place yesterday. Can he make it 2 spots better, sorry? The number 71 out in front. He's looking set to do so as he's pulled quite a comfortable gap back to the sister team driver of Abgazava in the championship standings. That would promote Matteo Colnaghi into the lead of the championship. The 17-year-old circulating around the circuit, but driving like he has the age and wisdom of somebody that has been in this field for their whole lifetime. The Richard Miller Young Talent Academy winner in 2023, putting that talent to use as well on the circuit right now. He came 2nd in the Spanish Winter Championship for EUROCUP-3 with the MP team this season. He's trying to make that better in the regular season, and he's looking quite set to do so as well, as Matteo Colnaghi, I think it's fair to say, has been one of the standout drivers of the season, and that's very rare to say for a rookie driver making their way into this class as well. Identical chassis to what is going to be the Formula Regional class, but Matteo Colnaghi out in front, Abgazava in behind, Rinicella closely following in 3rd. So, as we watch the drivers now making their way around once again, Gladish has now picked himself up in 5th position. It's a fastest lap going the way of Gladish, so we'll see if he's able to put that pace even better and hopefully get himself into a top 3 position. Might look like a little bit of a stretch at the moment, as he has 7 tenths off the back of Stuka, so a little bit of work to do if he wants to make himself into the top 4. And from there, he would have to hunt down the back of Valerio Rinicella, our current championship leader. Well, technically not the championship leader right now, as he's currently with the fastest lap and also the pole position going the way of Matteo Colnaghi this morning. That does mean that he gains 2 extra championship points, promoting himself into the lead of the championship by just 1 point over Valerio Rinicella. So we'll see if anything is able to change here. If Rinicella is able to get himself into 2nd position, it will be damage limitation for his lead, and he would try and keep Matteo Colnaghi within an arm's reach. But look at the gap now. Gladish has fully closed it down to the back of Kasper Stuka, and Stuka surely starting to feel the pressure amount onto his shoulders. As we're looking in the background, that is going to be Jules Caranta all over the back, as Ovagozzi, as the number 11, trying to fend off Oscar Vert and Ernesto Rivera as well, going at it. Rivera, Red Bull Junior colours. Can he put that junior team and experience to use? He goes to the outside of 1. Dummies, tries to fake to the inside, thinks better of it and backs out for the moment. Oscar Vert positioning that car in the perfect position. He sat that machine very, very nicely for Drive X in the middle of the track, and that fully covered off the attempt from Ernesto Rivera. Campos Racing, Red Bull colours. But Ernesto Rivera now trying to navigate his way around that number 11 car in front of him as we make our way down the back straight, trailing down to turn 6. Push to pass is available for these drivers, remember. All they have to do is hold down the button and an extra 25 horsepower is awarded to the drivers. They can use that for 60 seconds over the course of a race, so they have to use it sparingly and choose their moments correctly. But Ernesto Rivera just planning out where he can make this attack work now. Oscar Vert in front. Rivera will just be analysing Vert in front, figuring out where he's faster than Vert, where he's slower than Vert, and where he can pounce to try and catch his competitor off guard. This isn't for a point scoring position, but it's a position nonetheless, and even still gets him even closer to that top 10. They are quite far back, off the back of Andreas Cardenas in 11th position. But even still, just a confidence boost and a position nonetheless for Rivera. As he has a little dart to the inside, tries to fill the mirrors of Oscar Vert. Dirianani was able to make up a place on that last lap as he made his way past Lenny Reed for 15th position. But Rivera getting restless right now in 13th position as he is hounding the rear end of Oscar Vert right now, but just seemingly not able to make anything work. Assen, notorious for these tight circuits, and a long straight slipstream available, push to pass available, but what is he able to do? Nothing down to turn 6 as we now head through 7 and 8. But Ernesto Rivera, as we said, he was the championship leader coming into this race. Will he be able to regain that championship lead over the coming rounds? The next round coming up is SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS, so a track that the drivers are very much used to circulating around, a notorious race, and one that every driver wants to win in their lifetime. So Rivera just needs to try and keep his hopes high, and one way of doing that, it will be a great confidence boost to make his way past Oscar Vert. Obviously, son of former Formula 1 driver Alexander Vert, who competed in the class for nearly 10 years of racing. 65 points in his lengthy campaign. But in the background, more battling going on as we see drivers squabbling for position a little bit further down the order. Enzo Tarvinichkul just watching this battle unfold between Moreno and Reed. Tarvinichkul opting for that outside line. He's pushed a little bit wide and onto the dirty apron he goes. Moreno just looking left and right, but a good drive out of turn 4 finds Enzo Tarvinichkul in a beautiful attacking opportunity as we make our way down the straight towards turn 6. Tarvinichkul on the rear, to the inside goes Moreno, but great defensive maneuvers. Moreno off the road, Reed goes defensive, and Tarvinichkul will swoop past as well. Moreno tried to set himself up for the overtake, but instead set himself up for a dreadful move which brought himself off the circuit. Weaves a little bit, tries to get the dirt off his tyres as he's now falling into the clutches of Paul Lambert. We'll see a replay here down the inside. Moreno overshoots his braking zone, doesn't want to run into the back of Lenny Reed, and the only option he has is off the road and out of position. Tarvinichkul says, thank you very much, I'll pick up that free position, and I will now be the driver to attack the back of Lenny Reed. Reed into the clutches of the Red Bull Junior driver. We go through the final chicane and onto the home straight. A lot more action than yesterday's racing. Driver's clearly learning. He goes left and he darts right. Tarvinichkul push to pass available, and he finds himself gaining another position. Great move from Tarvinichkul to get himself up into 16th position. He fell a little bit off the line after a stall, but making use of the track in front of him, and now just departing drivers. He's carving through this field like a knife through butter. So Enzo Tarvinichkul, success in other racing series, showing to fruition as he makes his way past Lenny Reed on the straight. He threw his car left initially. Reed went to follow left to initially defend, and then a great move from Tarvinichkul saw him through the dummy and dart straight back to that inside line. But more battling nonetheless. Assen is giving us all the stops and some great racing. Once again, this is the number 5 now following in suit as we're watching Moreno in behind Lambert. So Paul Lambert, after seeing that mistake from Moreno, was able to capitalize on the track position and get himself up another place. So Lambert finds himself 18th from what was an attempt for P16. Moreno now finds himself falling all the way down to 19th position. We're having a look here. That looks like it's very, very close between teammates and a little bit too close for comfort, maybe. That's the number 7. No, they're not teammates, but he's trying to get the switch back here. Can Gladish get himself on the inside line? He's definitely going to try. Kasper Stuka now on the defensive. He was looking to attack the MP Motorsport cart earlier on, but now he's thrown on the back foot. He goes left, goes right, covers off the position beautifully as Gladish is showing no mercy here. And the door firmly shut in the face twice of Maciej Gladish. The MP Motorsport car, a difference in livery is the way you're able to spot the number 7 on circuit. But in front of him, Kasper Stuka throwing out all the defensive blocks to help keep the rookie driver in behind him. The driver with the fastest lap of the race, it was Maciej Gladish. That's now thrown the way of Valerio Renichella. Yesterday's race winner, clearly showing he has the pace to be winning this one, but unfortunately just a little bit off the block right now. 5 tenths off the back of Abgazava in front in the sister team of KCL MP Motorsport. Kownagi out in front with a comfortable daylight gap of 1.3 seconds separating him and Abgazava right now. But with all this unfolding, the time is very much ticking down with only 12 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock. These drivers don't have much time to situate themselves in the position that they want to be. Oh, and that's 2 cars off the road. That looks like that's the number 3 of Lenny Reid and Paul Lambert. The 2 drivers which we mentioned were battling earlier on. Down in the final corner through turn 18. That's 2 cars off the road. The number 25 of Paul Lambert and Lenny Reid find themselves beached in the gravel trap and out of racing contention. Now, surely that's a safety car out on the circuit. And yes, it is. For the first time this weekend, EuroCup Formula 3 finds themselves pacing around behind a safety car. Now, that safety car does mean that all the work that Matteo Kownagi put into asserting that gap between him and Abgazava is instantly cut down to 0. So Abgazava, a dream situation for the driver in the number 12 car, as he is now latched onto the back of the Italian rookie in front of him. But not to the expense of 2 drivers out of the race. The number 3 of Lenny Reid and Paul Lambert will have to be recovered out of the gravel trap. I do wonder what happened there. Obviously, must have been contact between the 2 drivers. Paul Lambert firing off a little bit further as he finds himself in the wall, not just the gravel trap, which we see from Lenny Reid. But the Sparco Palau MS car and the Drive X driver of Paul Lambert are now out of this race. And sights are now set to Spa-Francorchamps, which we make our way next to on the road. So hopefully a recovery from Lenny Reid and Paul Lambert in that Spa race. That's all they can hope for now. Their mind is completely checked out of Assen and on to the future of this championship. This weekend marked the start of the second half of the season. But it does look like Paul Lambert's car is going to work a little bit more of a recovery and not such an easy one than Lenny Reid. Doesn't look like there's too much damage there on the number 25. But that does mean that there is now 3 retirements in this race. Mikhail Belov, we saw with an issue off the line. He pulled into the pits to retire. Paul Lambert retires and Lenny Reid as well, caught in the fray. But Matteo Kownagi, a stressful situation indeed. Not one that he hasn't dealt with already through his racing campaign. I'm sure he'll be used to it by now. It was a safety car ridden Monza that we saw last time out in the EuroCup-3 Championship. Assen looked more squeaky clean than Monza, but clearly not squeaky clean enough, as we now do have a safety car out on the circuit. So hopefully we are back at racing speed very, very shortly. But we'll have to see how long it takes for those cars to be recovered. Obviously, the Marshals and the Orange Army out at the Assen circuit doing a brilliant job, as they always do, at recovering these cars and getting us back to racing speed as soon as possible, making sure that all the drivers and competitors are safe. We wouldn't be able to go racing without them on a motorsport weekend. So a big thank you and a big shout out goes out to the Orange Army that are with us every single weekend of racing. But it's not just the Orange Army, the Marshals, it's the Orange Army out in front of Kalnagi, Abgazava and Renicella. Those MP Motorsport cars have been so strong at their home Grand Prix. And it may not be home knowledge around this circuit, as they've never toured around here in the EUROCUP-3 machines, but MP Motorsport, a notable name through the rankings, F2, F3 and the likes, which we see, and EUROCUP-3 as well. There is still the stranded car of Paul Lambert, so the recovery job still going on there for, unfortunately, the number 25 rookie driver that had to retire after an incident at the final corner with Lenny Reed. But the safety car now tours us out right now. 8 minutes is ticking down on the clock, and every single lap that we spend under safety car is another 2.5 minutes, which is taken off the clock, substantially more than we would see under a racing lap. My apologies for a mistake on the name. It's not Paul Lambert, that is Preston Lambert that has retired from the race. Obviously relatives, Paul and Preston Lambert. So my apologies for the mistake on the name. But as we go around the circuit once again, Lenny Reed in 27th position, and it's Preston Lambert retiring in 28th. There is Preston Lambert's car, which will now be pulled out of the barriers and pulled off the circuit very, very shortly, which does give me hope that we will resume from safety car conditions very, very shortly. But we'll have to wait and see when that will be and how much racing action that we will get. The incident involving the number 3 and the number 25 of Lenny Reed and Preston Lambert will be investigated after this session. So we'll have to see if there is any decision to be made on that. Unfortunately, we haven't got a replay of that incident so far. So it will all go down to post-race decisions. But our eyes on the circuit, down on the track. Alex is now waiting with us with the latest.
Hi again, Kai. Well, as you can see behind me, you'll soon see all the drivers coming into the main straight, and I hope that we'll still have a restart, as you were able to watch through the wait behind the safety car. Of course, the track side assistants have done a fantastic job. It is a shame, of course, that we had a neutralized race for a while, but we talked about this yesterday. When a track is so narrow, so tight, so twisty, and overtaking is so tricky, you always have one or two drivers taking one or two too many risks, and well, we've seen what that can lead to sometimes, and unfortunately I could say that's racing, and it is, but well, anyway, I hope that we can have at least a little bit of racing, 1-2 laps at the end, that can give us a good taste to finish the weekend.
Yeah, and Alex, obviously that mistake and incident on the final corner between Lenny Reed and Preston Lambert, you're down on the pit wall there. Did you get any closer to the action? Did you see what happened there?
No, we couldn't see it because from that angle we were at the other side of the pit lane, which is very short here in Assen. But to be honest, we couldn't see it. What we saw, of course, once we saw the puff of smoke or dust, we ran to see what the position of the cars, and we saw pretty much what we could see on the big screen on the TV as well. But we were able to see the crane, towing the car away and all those works, which sometimes you don't get to see them, which is nice. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see exactly what happened on the incident. But last chicane in Assen, we pretty much can imagine what happened. Someone tried a little bit of a too late braking, and that ended the way it did. Or at least that's my take on it from what we've seen. Yeah,
very unfortunate to see those two drivers retire from the race. Thank you very much for your insights, Alex. And with those two cars now cleared off the track, we should shortly be resuming racing action. And with the safety car lights now off, Matteo Kornagi virtually becomes the safety car out in front as he now controls the pace of the grid with just over 4 minutes of action remaining on the clock. As soon as we cross the line, we will be resuming at full racing speed. And Matteo Kornagi, if he's not careful, he might have to go straight on the defensive from Abgazava and Rinicella in behind. Don't count out Stuka and Gladish. Gladish was applying a lot of pressure onto the back of Stuka earlier on in this race, as we saw from the number 7 with some brilliant pace around the circuit. Just what is going to be 800 tenths off the fastest lap right now. So we'll see if he is able to get himself a little bit faster, or if he is able to get himself into a better position as we crawl towards the final chicane. We're all looking at Matteo Kornagi. As soon as he puts his foot down, and he puts his foot down now, he makes his way down the straight, and it's a beautiful restart from the number 71 as he manages to catch his competitors off guard. Abgazava not able to respond to the acceleration of Matteo Kornagi as we dive down towards turn 1. 3 MP Motorsport drivers, but 2 in contention. A couple drivers weaving out a little bit, just making sure their competitors behind make sure they're not able to go for an overtake down into turn 1. It's all single file for now. Nobody opting to go side by side just yet, but out in front, Matteo Kornagi, as if there wasn't a safety car at all, he resumes to the normal and gains himself a little bit of gap between him and Abgazava in behind. Beautiful restart there from the MP Motorsport cars as they're all able to edge themselves a bit of a gap from the drivers in behind Stuka, not able to respond to anything at all. We'll see a replay of the restart here and just look at the gap that Kornagi already had back to Abgazava. Oh, and one car off in the background there. That looks like that was going to be Fiorentino. So the Drive X driver off in the background, unfortunately. That was Filippo Fiorentino making his way off the circuit. Didn't quite see how he ended up in the gravel trap of turn 18. But not where you want to be finding yourself on the restart. You want to find yourself in an overtaking opportunity, especially not darting off the circuit in the likes of the number 21 from Filippo Fiorentino, which we saw just earlier. Through the final couple of bends we go. Less than 2 minutes on the clock, which means that we will get 3 more laps of racing action. The clock is ticking down and all eyes are on the front of the grid as we're just watching Alexander Abgazava just patiently waiting, seeing if he has the pace to catch onto the back of Matteo Kornagi. If he does have the pace, he's going to have to release it sooner rather than later because there is not much time left to tour around this TT circuit Assen. The number 12 car in the number 2 spot right now. Matteo Kornagi, he's done the double in qualifying. Can he win both races on track? He did win the race on track yesterday, but remember, he got that 10-second penalty for being incorrectly in the grid box. I'm sure that'll be something that'll be playing in the back of Matteo Kornagi's in the back of his mind, sorry. He's not under investigation for anything just yet. So Kornagi, a clean race for him. He was able to get the jump off the line and get himself into the lead early on. Seems like a rinse and repeat from yesterday. Bar the penalty. We do have word from race control that the safety car procedure is under investigation. So unsure what's happened there. Another driver under investigation is going to be Alchu Velderman. So Velderman under investigation on turn 17. Could that have been the reason that we saw Filippo Fiorentino make his way off the circuit in that Drive X machine? Fiorentino in the pit lane. Velderman under investigation. But up at the front end, that is Maciej Gladish in your picture right now. The MP Motorsport machine. Not in the classic orange colours. But we see him making his way around right now. The clock has struck 0, and it's a lockup from Gladish. Nerves starting to creep in there for the number 7. As Carrasquedo He's not far off the back of that MP Motorsport machine. He is 8/10, but more mistakes like that might find us in the clutches of Carrasquedo in behind. Just a minor front left lock up there from the number 7 driver. He manages to keep it under control and loses minimum time, but that's not going to help his chances of catching onto the back of Kasper Stuka in front. The only Griffin Core driver within the top 8 right now. Macedo is in P9, obviously qualified P2, but a 5-second penalty for not obeying yellow flags in qualifying. That gave him a 5th-place grid penalty, which meant that he had to start from 7th on the grid. Finds himself in 9th right now. Out in front, Matej Konagi. It may not be the ending that he would have been hoping for. The last lap board is out right now. It wasn't a close race at all here for the Italian stallion out in front. 1.5 seconds is the gap he manages to pull out to the sister team driver in behind. But just like we've seen multiple times in the past, Matej Konagi is able to walk away with a victory. We saw it yesterday, hampered by a penalty. This is redemption day for Matej Konagi. Looking to take home what is going to be his 4th win of the season. It could have been his 5th if it wasn't for yesterday. Down the back end of the circuit, we go now through 8 and down towards 9. Matej Konagi off the back of a victory in Monza in race 2. This is the exact run of campaign that Matej Konagi would have been hoping for coming into EUROCUP-3 this season. The Spanish Winter Cup got a little bit unfortunate and finished in 2nd position, but he's came for revenge. And Matej Konagi, he negotiates his way around the final couple of corners, and it's the Italian flag and the Italian national anthem that we will hear once again from the top step of the podium. Through 17 and 18 he goes now. Matej Konagi, he's done the double in qualifying and he wins in race 2. The number 71 sees the checkered flag once again from the top step. But what a race from Alexander Abkazava, the KCL MP Motorsport machine, finishing in 2nd position. Coming into this race, he's all the way down in 15th in the championship. Only 1 podium to his name, but it's 2 podiums now as he comes home in 2nd position. A result to very much be proud of, and punching the air is Matej Konagi, and you can't blame him after what has been a dominant weekend indeed. If it wasn't for penalties, he would have had both pole positions and both race wins. Matej Konagi around the TT circuit of Assen. He takes the crown and sits in his throne as the King of Assen is crowned. Matej Konagi, a brilliant tour of the Netherlands, and he now sets his sights to the notorious circuits in the forest of Belgium. SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS is our next race, and Matej Konagi, I'm sure, will be looking to dominate once again. The question is, who will be able to challenge him going into that weekend? Obviously, Abkazava finished in 2nd position there. That will very much help out his championship bout. Down in 15th right now, it will be a big place gain, I'm sure, for Abkazava. And down the back end there, Gladish, he showed some brilliant pace over the course of the weekend. 1 driver taken to the grass there on the in-lap. I'm sure that's not the preferred line, as they will be trying to pick up the marbles and the leftover rubber onto the tyres right now to help out with their weighing after the race. But the number 71 car, you haven't been able to take your eyes off him all weekend. MP Motorsport have put an unbelievable machine underneath him. But with a great car comes a great driver. And that is what amounts to a victory. And that's what rounds out the TT Circuit Assen Tour of the EUROCUP-3 weekend. And what a weekend it was. It was a calm and collected race yesterday, I think it's fair to say. Not much battling today. It was definitely gloves off and a lot more action all the way through the grid with multiple battles taking place. That man right there, Alexander Abkazava, has very much impressed me with the pace and the diligence that he was able to show today to take home that second position. It was a great result, and I'm sure the KCL MP Motorsport team will be very, very pleased with his performance today as he gets a high five from his mechanic and is elated with the result that he was able to take home. He steps out of the car and another car makes their way in, and it's your race winner, Matej Kownagi. We won't get tired of saying his name. Well, maybe we will with the amount of times that we're going to have to say it this season as he walks away with the race victory. Don't forget about Valerio Rinicella, yesterday's race winner after post-race penalties. Finishes in P3 today, still a very nice haul of points, and will esteem himself second position in the championship standings. Doesn't stay at the top step of the championship standings. That is handed to that man right there, Matej Kownagi. So Kownagi walks away from Assen in the lead of the championship. He points to his chest, hand on his heart, and he poured everything into this race. He showed it in the pace. He showed it in his maturity off that safety car restart. He would have had a lot of pressure out of that safety car restart. A lot of drivers would have buckled under that pressure and made a mistake on the restart. Kownagi, never would we see that from that man, as he was able to just depart from the rest of the field, picked up from where he left off before the safety car was deployed, and just gain himself a comfortable gap over the rest of the field. Unfazed was the Italian stallion out in front. Two Italians on the podium in the way of Kownagi and Rinicella. What could have been for Mikhail Belov? Would we have seen him on the podium? It's a big if, it's a big but, and it's a big maybe as well, because we will never know. But a mechanical issue took the number 41 out of the race, unfortunately. He started on the front row in second position, but an issue off the line. He got away fine, wasn't able to mature through that second stage of the initial getaway, and that's what put Mikhail Belov out of the race. 4 retirements from this race. Filippo Fiorentino pulled into the pit lane and retired in the pit lane. Lenny Reed and Preston Lambert had their incident down at turn 18. And Mikhail Belov, the first to see the retirement board, as he pulled into the pit lane on just the second lap of the race. Great to see the sportsmanship there between the two sister team teammates, as Kownagi and Alexander Abkazava gets high fives all around from the MP Motorsport team. And I'm sure that smile on his face will not fade for quite some time now. And with it being Sunday, the celebrations can now begin for the MP Motorsport team and the KCL by MP Motorsport teams, as they stand by their 1, 2, 3 board. It's orange that fills your sight, and that is Kownagi, Abkazava, and Rinicella. They hold up their boards, get their photos taken, and I'm sure we will very shortly hear from our race winner. Kownagi yesterday seemed a little bit reserved after knowing he was under investigation. Alex is now down there with Matej Kownagi. Redemption from yesterday, and Alex will now find out how he found that race.
Exactly, we are here with the race 2 winner, and the word that we're hearing from our commentator on the booth, Kai, is redemption. Do you feel that?
Yeah, definitely. As the race was quite similar to yesterday up front, but mistake from my side yesterday cost me the win in the steward's office. So today was definitely much better in that sense.
So first of all, how important is it to have that 1, 2, 3 painting the home track in orange?
Yeah, definitely. We're in the Netherlands, so home of MP. It's really nice for the team to get the 1, 2, 3. Good points for the team championship, good points for Alexander and Valerio as well. So yeah, I think everyone is quite happy.
Of course, you talk about Valerio. I know that you're good friends, but you're also rivals for the title fight. So how do you manage that situation? Yes, you have to celebrate the team points. Yes, you have to celebrate the friends points, but that matters to you as well.
Yeah, of course. It's quite similar to with Keanu last year. I know that with Valerio I can fight hard but fair, and he will do the same with me. So obviously we're going to fight for it until the end, until Barcelona. But I know it will be a fair fight with him.
4 wins now. How many more in the next few races?
I've learned that staying humble is much better, so I won't say anything. No comment.
I was hoping for that. I was fishing for that one.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Thank you very much.
So the usual stay humble from Mattia Colnaghi, who of course continues to learn through that motorsport journey. But for the time being, back in the lead of the championship, which is of course where one always wants to be as a racing driver. Not too bad, Kai, not too bad.
No, not too bad at all, Alex. And what a race it was from him. Dominant from lights to finish. But one man that stood out to me, Alexander Abkazava. I've said his name multiple times today. It was Mikhail Belov that impressed us both yesterday, but that man right there definitely stood out to me today.
Absolutely, he did a great job. I think sometimes drivers, especially those who are not necessarily every race fighting at the top of the field, they need these results to get back that confidence, to show that they can be there, especially when you are next to your teammates who are also fighting for the championship. That lets you show to yourself that you have what it takes to be at there. So, of course, that will be important for him. Another driver who impressed me today was Enzo Tarmaniscul, because he was probably the only driver able to constantly and consistently make overtakes on track, which is not easy. Shows that he had a good pace, but also he was audacious enough to get some of the rivals out of the way. That's not too bad as well. But definitely that was a race which, yes, we may not have seen that much action on track, but it has plenty of stories that we can carry with us on to the next one in Spa. So I think that's also something to consider.
Yeah, indeed, as you mentioned, Alex, Enzo Tarmaniscul, he had that stall off the line. He wasn't able to get away as quickly as he wanted to, so put himself on the back foot straight away. He recovers to P13, so a great recovery drive from him. And Alex, I have to say, Maciej Gladiš showed some brilliant pace today. P7 in the championship, 5th on track today. Is this just what we're starting to see from Maciej Gladiš? Is this what we should expect from him for the rest of the season?
I'm sure he can do it. We know that he can. We've seen it, especially on the Spanish Winter Championship, where he was Mattia Colnaghi's rival, actually, for that on the fight for that title in EUROCUP-3 again. And we know from the start of the season in the Red Bull Ring that he has the speed to do it. But somehow, for the last few events, things haven't clicked for the Polish driver. And I wonder exactly what has been going on that has meant that he has generally struggled more than he ought to have. But every now and then we see those flashes of speed, of talent, of quality, which we saw last year in Formula 4 Spanish Championship. We have to remember that he's a rookie. Rookies have been spectacular this season, but we cannot expect everyone to learn and develop at the same pace. What matters, though, is that once every now and then, you do show those flashes of speed, because that's what shows that you as a driver have to be considered for big things in the future. That said, I do hope that he's able to be more consistently up there, because we know that he's always a very interesting driver to have in a fight for the podium, for the win. So I certainly hope that he'll be there, because we know that when he's comfortable, he's as quick as anybody else. And we want quick drivers at the top of the field, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like we can't not acknowledge Mikhail Belov, obviously issue off the line there. Alex, you would have been the first person to see him come into the pit lane. Did you get any sort of a gist of what was the issue there with Belov?
We couldn't see much, but all I can tell you is that the team did not open the engine cover. So most of the work was done on the computer. So definitely that, to me, that points towards potentially some electronic issue. Now, consider that this is just my own interpretation of the moment. Normally, if the problem is more mechanical related, usually you quickly see the mechanics opening the engine cover and checking if everything's okay. but they didn't. And to me, as I say, the fact that they didn't, to me, points towards an electronic or maybe a sensor. We know that, which would be electronic, of course, but we know that sensors sometimes can alter a car's performance if it's not working correctly. So those are probably the two things that I would think that caused the problem. But it is also heartbreaking, even though that they did have that prized moment yesterday with that third place, which became second. They knew that they had what it took to be again on the podium today, and not being able to do that, it must sting, especially when we consider that originally that seat belonged to Owen Tangavelu, who we're thinking that he should be back on the car when he recovers. But now we have a situation, because as a team, LA Racing will surely look at the performances of Michael Belov and say, well, you know, we should be maybe considering keeping this guy for the rest of the season, because he has clearly performed. So now that is a mystery that I'd be very interested in knowing exactly how it develops.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what LA Racing decide to do there. Obviously, Belov clearly able to show that he is able to put down some brilliant pace on the circuit in that LA Racing machine. But Assen, a circuit that the teams and the drivers aren't very used to. Spa is the next track that we find ourselves with, a notorious circuit, a circuit which all of these teams will have a lot of data around. Do you think we should see any differences from this round to next round? Because obviously the drivers will be used to that circuit. So what should we expect, Alex?
I should expect that Campos would be back on pace in Spa. They have plenty of information from other series, from EUROCUP-3 as well. So they should be back on track there. They should be back on the usual pace. That means that, for example, Ernesto Rivera should be once again back in those places that we've seen him through the whole season. And that is just as good, because we want, again, more championship contenders fighting for those first places. But that's probably the biggest thing that I can think right now. The rest is down to the drivers, because as you know very well, Spa is a driver's track. So yes, of course the teams matter, as they always have in motorsport, but Spa is always giving that little bit of a chance for a driver to show their speed. So I expect, as I say, rounding up, Campos to be back there. MP will, of course, be as competitive as always. As for drivers, maybe if Michael Belov continues to be there, he can show whether that speed this weekend was genuine. It was just a one-off case of taking advantage of that lack of knowledge of Assen, which could also be the case.
Well, Alex, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you after the podium ceremony. But in the background now, we can see the podium now going on and all the drivers making their way up. What a weekend it was for us, and especially for the MP and KCL MP Motorsport teams.
KCL MP Motorsport, Alexander Abkozawa. Congratulations, Alexander. And the winner of the race overall, also on behalf of MP Motorsport, Mattia Kornagi. Proud man standing on the rostrum, and on behalf of the victory of Mattia Kornagi, we're going to listen to the national anthem. That was the Italian national anthem for Mattia Kornagi. And now we're going to present the trophies to the winner team. I think first we'll do that. The winning team, of course, is presented by Rafael Zouwat from LDP. And that's, of course, for MP Motorsport. Congratulations. Then third place trophy, of course, is for Valerio Rinicella, and the trophy is presented by Gishout from Hankook. for third place. The trophy is presented by Chris Sharp from Hankook. There he is. Just made a quick change there. Congratulations, Valerio Rinicella. Then the trophy for second place is presented by Eduardo Ferrarini on behalf of ATS Racing Fuels. And that trophy is presented to Alexandra Kozama. Congratulations again. And then the trophy for the winner is presented by Rafael Sowat from LDP International, and of course presented to Mattia Konagi, the winner of the race of today. And then we ask everyone to stand together for some nice photos. With the Jack's Casino ladies. Yeah, wait for the girls to come here before we go on. With something that's in front of you. Gentlemen, I would say champagne!
So as the drivers now clear the podium, we have to give a big round of applause as well to our cameraman Danny, who has some very strong shoulders, having to hold that camera over the top of a lot of people's heads. I mean, not an easy job at all. Neither is it navigating a race car around this TT circuit of Assen, and celebrations continuing on in the paddock. I'm sure, Alex, just hoping that you don't get sprayed by any of the champagne there.
I was safe. I was quick to react there, and we saved ourselves some extra showers. So we had enough this morning and yesterday. They wanted an extra one, but no, we're fine. And yes, as you said, Kai, we have our own MVP of the day, Danny, behind the camera. Of course, always making sure that we get the best images and making sure that nothing bad gets on the frame as well, which is always important. And of course, I have to say, we have also our rookie of the weekend, which is you, Kai. So great job this weekend. Welcome aboard also. And I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you'll enjoy the next one.
Yeah, Alex, thank you very much for your time and being so welcoming to me this weekend. It's been amazing working with you, and I look forward to the rest of the season. Alex, I know that you like betting your vegetables, so Spa, one driver to watch. Who's it going to be?
Oof, I have to think about that, but I'll bet not one but two Ps in favor of Mattia Kolnagi, because he has been clearly the man to beat on the past couple of rounds. Yes, things can happen in motorsport. We know what happened yesterday, but he is the man of the moment. He is feeling quicker and quicker with every round, which is normal from a rookie. So I think that's the one that we need to consider as a big favorite for Spa, especially as a driver's circuit. What's yours, Kai?
No. Ooh, asking mine. We'll have to see. I think Valerio Rinicella has been looking very strong, so we'll see if he's able to take back the championship lead in his favour. But obviously quite confident, aren't you? Not one P, but two Ps going the way of Mattia Kolnagi. Alex, thank you very much for this weekend, and we will see you very, very shortly at the next round. But that does round out what has been a brilliant weekend at the TT circuit of Assen for round 5 of the EUROCUP-3 championship, and we look forward to the rest of the season. I've been Kai Bajini, talking you through the action this weekend, and let's see what happens on the 4th and 5th of September at SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS.